Good morning. Today we're going to be looking at what it takes to actually finish the HTML and Twitter checkers for our project. So in order to do that, we want to first take a look at how we have the test set up for this and see what it's actually looking for when we do the test, so we can actually prep that and make that happen. So we're going to start off right now in chat panel test. So we're going to start off right now with our Chatbot test file. Again, as you can see over here in our Chatbot project, we have the controller, the model, the tests, and the view packages that we're working with. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this out of the way so we don't have to worry about it. And we have two sets of tests that we're going to be working on today. So we're looking at the idea of the test Twitter checker and the test input HTML checker. Starting off with the test Twitter checker right here, as you can see, we have 5 tests that we have to pass in order for this to earn credit for the assignment. So we have a couple things that we're looking for as we look through the idea on this. And so the test Twitter checker is going to make sure that we have a couple things. So it should fail the Twitter checker if we simply give a space. That the Twitter checker should return true if we have a hashtag followed by a set of text. That it should not return true, it should return false if there's a hashtag followed by a space, clearly not actually using something. We should detect a Twitter user with the idea of the @ sign followed by a set of text that could be a Twitter's user handle. But an empty user would be the same case as we saw with the idea of an empty @ sign. And as we look at these, we have the idea of we're using the JUnit assert false or assert true to determine what the correct result should be for these, with a little bit of information right here, like, oh, an empty Twitter failed because it's blank, hashtag detect failed because it should detect a hashtag, a Twitter user failed because it should have detected that @ sign, and an empty user failed because it should not have detected that as an actual user. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the code we actually do to make that pass. We're going to go over here to our Chatbot object. As you can see right here, we have our Twitter checker method. Our Twitter checker method inside the Chatbot object. We have, again, it's a Boolean method. It takes some string input. And using our standard approach of we declare a variable to be false, returning that variable no matter what, so we automatically have our variable assigned for that. We have checking to make sure if our input is equal to null, it automatically returns false. We just immediately know that if this is a null check, we don't want to actually even look for this because that would cause problems. Then we have a couple of indexOf hash and indexOf ats. So I'm using that indexOf string method, passing it either the @ sign or the hashtag, as we see right here. And then we're checking first to see if the index is greater than or equal to 0 for either of those. If either of those have a greater than equals 0 case, then it's obviously something we want to look at to see if it's possibly a valid answer. We then check to say if indexOf hash is not equal to -1, because we know that the hashtag is something that's not 0, so we can go and look at that. We then look inside that substring, we look at indexOf hash +1, which is going to take the spot that's after the hashtag symbol, up to hashtag +2, so the spot next to it. So in this case, we're looking at hashtag indexOf n right here. So you have hashtag right there, then I, and that next character, the I itself, right after that. We're looking at those two species because the substring with 2 parameters takes the first parameter and includes it, but up to but not including that second parameter. And so we're looking at that right here, see if it has a hashtag inside it, and if that's going to equal the space. If it does equal the space, that would cause a problem, but we use the not operator, the negation operator, the exclamation point right here. And if it does not have a space, then we're going to go ahead and say it looks tweetable to be true. We're then going to use another test, the one for the @ sign. We'll use instead of using a not equals, use greater than -1. Because this is going to be an int, we don't have to worry about anything that's any number greater than 1. It's automatically 0 or above. So again, we have that same basic approach. And we're only testing as soon as one of them are true, we're good. We don't have to worry about the other one not being true because it's not what we're looking for. If either of these cases are true, we're saying it's all right. We could do a more advanced check if we want to another time. For this is what we're working on. So the index of that is greater than -1. That means the @ sign is somewhere within our string. We're then going to use the index of the space and index of @. And so we're using the other indexOf method. This is the indexOf method that looks for a space starting at this position. If it's not equal to the indexOf @+1, aka the next symbol is not a space, then we have the idea that this is tweetable. So we've met the conditions for our actual thing. So we're using 2 different ways of looking at this string. In this case, we're looking to see if the space after the @ sign is not a space. We're going to say that it looks tweetable. And then we return that variable as here. So we're going to go ahead and test that out right here inside our Chatbot tests. And if we look at our Chatbot test right here, I'm going to go over to my JUnit, and I'm going to go up to my Chatbot test. And in my JUnit test, I'm going to grab my lovely Twitter checker. And we are going to play this Twitter checker right here. and we test the Twitter checker. It passes all the tests. Each condition within that of the Twitter checker was a successful pass. If I were to go through and change this right here, and we should then have a assert true, this is not going to return the case. This is going to return false because this is not actually correct. So if we play that up and play and OK. And our Twitter checker, our hashtag detect fail, because that we took out that lovely condition which made it so that was no longer a hashtag. So that was what we obviously should have done. So again, we have the idea that it will actually check to see, make sure that hashtag has text following it. Again, looking at how that code is set up, we go back over to our chatbot itself. We look at our hashtag, we look at the substring of indexOf hash plus 1. So in this case right here in our chatbot test, the hash plus 1 is going to be the W. We go back to our hash right there. Let's actually do this. There we go. We can look at both at the same time. So as we look at our input HTML checker right here, so excuse me. As we look at our test Twitter checker right here, again we have the idea of our indexOf hash. So our indexOf hash is not equal to -1 because there's a hashtag within that spot. In this case it is at position 0. And so then we're going to look at input.substring of hash plus 1, so we're going to do 0 plus 1, in this case that W, and indexOf hash plus 2, and then so we go starting at 1 going up to 2. So indexOf hash is 0 plus 2 is 2, so we go 0 and 1. We do not include 2, so all we're looking at then in this case is the W. And is that equal to space? It's not, and look, we have right here the idea that not equals. So we have that hashtag detect fail would return true properly. We do not assert a false on that like we are not supposed to. So this correctly asserts a true when we call Twitter checker, passing it the # right there. We look at that same thing if we were to pass it that false. So we have it on the false, we look at the hashtag right here. IndexOf hashtag is this number right here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the hashtag. And so we're going to look at the indexOf hash 7 plus 1. So we're going to go to this spot right here. So indexOf hashtag starting at 8 plus 1, 7 plus 1, which is 8, which is this spot. And then hashtag plus 2, which is going to be 7 plus 2 is 9, which is the end of the string. So it's right here. So it's looking at only this space. And it equals space. It returns true. Oh, so that would return true. That is a space. So that's definitely not a hashtag. So this should return false, which is what it's supposed to turn right here, and that's why it passed the test. We take that same approach looking at the indexOf @ right here. On this case, the @ is definitely within the string. It fails this string. It would fail this string because asserting false, there is no @. Definitely not going to pass. It's not going to give an @ on this one. That one would not, this right here would not be ever returned, never get tested because that's never going to have on that. So it doesn't even look at this. It doesn't look at this. However, it does look at this one because an @ is within it. @ is 0. Okay, we look at that, and it looks at then the indexOf @ so 0 right here, and then space. And the first space is over here. And it's not equal to indexOf @ plus 1. So it's not equal to that position, which means that the @ is not followed by a blank space, which means this is the possibility for a Twitter username, which returns true and returns it right there. That fails that test on that same position right here. We have that same approach. So again, looking over our Twitter checker, the Twitter checker first makes sure that the input itself is not null because we don't want to actually try and test something that doesn't exist. We look for then the first index of the @ and of a hashtag symbol. As soon as we see a hashtag symbol or an @ we know that this is something we want to look at. If either of those are possibly a potential value, we're using the OR sign, so it looks at either this one or this one. If this one passes, it doesn't even have to worry about the indexOf @ because it's only going to look at the indexOf hash because of the idea of short circuit evaluation. We then again check based on looking at hash, looking at the @. Then based on those, if either of those are true, it would set it to be true. If not, that stays and remains false and returns that variable at the end. So that's how we do the Twitter checker and go from there.